Welcome back to stage 2 of the SCX24 Deadbolt LCG portal build. And as you can see, we made a little progress here since stage 1. There's some color on the body, so I can kind of bring you up to speed on the paint process to show you how I got to where I am now. So as you can see from the kind of photo montage, there was quite a bit of masking and paint layers to achieve this effect, but I think it came out really well. I used some more Tamiya masking tape, and then I prepped for taillights, although the taillight housings I ordered are not coming. Bangor RC shut down, so I found some other little cheapo taillight housings. They're not going to be here for a while, so we're just going to leave off the taillights, but it's prepped for later. Really like this bright gunmetal. I think that came out great. And you can see I've got all my cans here. So the Brilliant Blue was a new one for me. PS30. I hadn't used the PS1 white either. PS63 is the bright gunmetal, and of course the old can of PS15 that I keep brushing on for taillights, and then PS55. So those were my colors. So not a cheap paint job, but I've got some spare color left over there for the future. So the next thing we're going to look at is the magnets. All right, so I've got the magnets glued in. I had to use two the thin magnets on the bottom, and then I glued one to the underside of the hood, and I had to forward mount the hood ones so they weren't inside the hood scoop. They missed that, so the ones that are glued to the base are a little bit offset forward, but it's fine with the shoe goo. Let me open it up here so you can see the double stack right there. Boom. Love that. So nice. I'm telling you, that's a good strong hold. Can I see the glob there? And then these still have the tape from when I glued the lower ones, but there's just two singles. So super easy. And then I glued in the body mount posts as well. So these guys are shoe glued in, they're not going anywhere. So that's all it takes to close it. All right, that's looking good already, just kind of mocked up there. So what you see here is pretty much what is left on the build. So we've got kind of the custom Baja lighting to add to the front bumper, get that wired in. I've got some more lighting here for the cage. It will replace the 5-pod light bar and guard, so it'll make that a lot more low pro and functional. And then of course we've got the FSBS6 and the Lizard Pro there, and then I've got my cyclical switch here for the lighting. Got to get the head on there, little helmet, and then besides the tail lights, then I'm going to have to wait on. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and I've got these mirrors here I didn't mention. So these are from the C10. So I'm going to mock those up, see what they look like, see if they're going to go on there. I don't think I've seen a Deadbolt with rear view mirrors. But anyways, just basically getting the details on there, the lighting, and getting the brains in there so we can run this guy. All right, so I think I've got all the electronics in, minus the switching and LEDs. So I've got the Lizard Pro double-sided to the side of the receiver, and then the Bluetooth double-sided on the end. I had to use the longer cable that the Lizard comes with, the optional one. So I just looped it there, and then I've got the servo wire slack snaked under here on double side. I'll show a little shot of that. And then the battery cable is going to just lay across here. And then when the shell closes, this just kind of folds down, and the motor cable sits up over the transmission. It's just twisted with a little tension on it. And then I've just got the antenna kind of tucked through these two holes for now, just to get that back out of the way. But that all seems to fit nicely under the shell. There's plenty of length of shell at the back, but there's not tons at the front, so I kind of pushed it all the way to the edge. So let me get the body on there and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, I've got it kind of faux plugged in to the battery almost, so that will kind of hold down the balance. This just leans forward, so there's plenty of clearance with this shell closed. Boom. And then you can see down the edge there, clearance to the body is fine. And then this one is totally clear, ready for the Club 5 auxiliary switch to go down this side and all the LEDs. That's kind of the bottom, what comes past. Basically you see some of the wiring, and you see the Bluetooth that's double-sided onto the end of the receiver. But I had to keep this tight because the tire is going to get in here when it turns. So the body cut is right here, whereas I've got plenty of space on the rear. So that's how we're sitting right now for electronics. Everything looks good. Battery's fitting in there well, nice and tidy. Everything up front. So moving right along, let's do some lighting. So I got the cage here in front of me, and I've got a little progress on it. As you can see here, all these little tidbits I've measured and taken out 2 millimeters off of each post, which still leaves me some vertical thread in there. I'll just have to snip down the screws a little bit shorter. I've got my bumper together with the lights, got these mounted up, test fitted, ready to go. I'm just gonna have to find a way to snake this kind of down the side under the battery. The lights are gonna take an extension, the headlights, to get to the receiver. They won't be switched. I'm gonna switch the rally lights and then the light bar with this guy that's going to ride down the passenger side. So I've got this, and I was about to fit it up, and you can see they provide a little notch there on the side to work with the cage. Fits really nicely there. And then they go and ruin it on this side with the big glob here on the wires. So the notch is filled in. So basically I'm gonna have to take this out in the garage and get the Dremel after it and basically cut into one of these sides to allow a little clearance for that light, or the wiring, I guess. So then we'll get that mounted, then all the lighting will be ready to install, and we'll be getting this thing powered up. I think the last thing is the mirrors and stickers, getting all that detail on there. And there we are with the light bar installed. That was pretty quick and painless. You can see right there, I just took the tube off basically, so good thing it's got that webbing, so it's still attached. But nice and low pro on there. So let's just do a quick mock-up here. Wow, that looks great with the chop top. Just 2 millimeters lower, that makes a difference. And I think as well, just having that flat light bar gives it a super nice tucked in look. So then I may modify the cage and take that little notch out of the back, take this piece off. We'll see. But so far I think that's looking really nice. So you can see here, I popped off the connector. That's super easy. You just take a little flathead and get under those tabs and just prime up and pull these out. So now I've got just two little wires to work with, so that's going to allow me to pop some heat shrink over those to hide them. So hopefully you won't even notice those once they're installed, and it also allows me to pop a small little hole in the body to route the wires rather than like a big slot for that guy. So the next thing is finding a spot to pop that through and route that in. So have some lights on this shortly. Got a little update. Got the lights in there mounted, and let's turn it on. There we go. So we got the bumper lights working on the switch. We're prepped for the roof lights. I updated the Lizard Pro firmware to 1.7. It goes further than that, but 1.7 fixed the 3S problem, and I've had no issues running it on that, so that's going to be my starting point here. So I think let me pop this guy open and I'll show you kind of how I laid everything out on the inside. It's convenient having that switch there. So you can see here, I put the switch vertically double-sided next to the motor can, giving it some space. And then there's all my wires, so they clear the servo. They just kind of bunch back and pinch here against that tray. And I'm hanging one wire over this post for this guy, just kind of to keep it up. So there's no space to route under the servo tray or the ESC tray because the servo comes all the way up. There's no way to come down the frame because of the shock mount. Same on this side. So it's just kind of tucking it as high as you can, and then they just kind of have to come around the edges of the battery. And you can see I took the battery cable to kind of, you know, loop it and kind of hold that up as well out of the fender. But it seems to be riding all right. I twisted this cable to keep some tension away from the motor can, but looks like plenty of clearance. And I really like the hood scoop because you get extra clearance right here. But it pops down just fine. So we're prepped and ready for getting this guy on. And then I've already pulled the mirrors out and taken a look at those. Kind of waffling, got to get the stickers on, and then I've got one more surprise that came in the mail. Kind of one of the finishing little detail touches to put on there. So look at that thing, that is super sick. So I've got the stickers on there, got the cage and the light bar installed, got it all wired up, tested, everything's good to go. Man, I love that chop top look. That is just awesome. So I guess you want to probably see the lights. So let's take a look at those. Alright, so let's do a little test here. Channel A, nice, relay lights. Channel B, light bar. Channel A and B, everything. Man, that is nice. Look at that creep. That is insane with the portal gear reduction on top of the Lizard Pro with brushless. Wow. So let me give you a little closer look at what I did with that light bar. As you can see, I shrink wrapped it there with some heat shrink, took it through a little hole there in the body. And then just Just taped it right there to keep it, you know, tight to the body so it wouldn't hit the motor possibly. And again, taped it there to keep it from sagging in the wheel well. And then I used a little servo extension to get back here to it. And I ended up flipping my switch. I forget that their channel B is actually A and A is B. So I had to flip that because I wanted my front lights on top just for the length. But super easy. Nice, that light bar is pretty impressive for like 12 bucks or whatever. It was fairly cheap. Alright, so I looked at the mirrors, and of course they're not on there. I got the stickers on and was about to do the mirrors after the cage, and I started looking at the kind of the rollover, and you can see it rests right on this edge. So I figured those would be the first to go on any good rollover. So I think I'm going to forego putting the C10 mirrors on this Deadbolt, and I'll just save those for another build. And I think we'll just move on and try to get some limiting straps on this, tune it to keep these front and rear shocks from unloading, and maybe pull the squat in the back down just a little bit more, get this guy a little lower. So I'm going to take a look at tuning it, and then I've still got that one little surprise left. So here we go with the limiting straps installed, and you can see it tucked the rear down to make it basically perfectly level with the front. So the front was already at full droop, so there's no down travel, but the rear still has just a little bit of down travel remaining. And then of course it's preventing the full axle droop of those double barrels, and it prevents the full droop of these stock 32mm length. So that should help quite a bit with the unloading, and I'll flip it around here and we'll look at the flex, but that was not reduced at all. Alright, so pretty simple and easy. Just picked up some hair bands, rubber bands. They come in 3 sizes, so ended up using the smallest size. And this canister is about 4 tire plus, so same flex that we had, basically the maximum articulation that we can get out of this rig. We still have got that, but we've got the limiting straps to prevent the front end from kicking up once these wheels hit an obstacle. So it's more to hold the body down than to hold the axles up. But these went on pretty easy. I played around with positioning a little bit until I got what I liked. So these are at the ESC tray screw, and I used a little black plastic washer, some of those Mofo RC spacers, kind of just to pinch the rubber band there. And then the lower is just on the inside of the shock mount, so it's not going to come loose. The rear is going to the upper link, so the same kind of thing. It sits on the inside, so you've got to take the links off, put the rubber band on, and then put those back on. But then that way they're not coming off, and then they come up the inside of the chassis to the body mount post position. So I had to snip off the screws to shorten them because I've got the shocks in there. So the screws kind of screw in and meet in the middle head to head. But again, I use those Mofo washers to kind of pinch the rubber band. But full articulation, so really happy with that. I'll give it a test drive here in a little while. So the next thing is just the finishing little details. And I said I wasn't going to do the mirrors. I'm still waffling, but we'll see. Thought I'd do a quick final weigh-in. I got that last piece of detail on there, so I figured this would be a good point to see where we sit. We know it sits low, so let's see how much it weighs. It looks like we're going to settle in right around 442 with almost a 60/40 bias there to the front, so that's not bad. 50/50, and this is with the stock 2S battery in there in that LCG kind of front ESC tray position. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let me flip over to ounces real quick. So 15.7 ounces. So that's about double. I want to say there's 7.3 ounces stock, somewhere around there. I'm not exactly sure of the Deadbolt, but the Jeep is. So definitely improved the ratio as far as the forward bias. So be interesting to see how this guy climbs. So I guess the next thing, we'll get off the scales and I'll show you that last little detail I put on. Alright, so you're looking at the final bit of detail. These are SSD faux locking hubs. So I got them in blue to tie into the skid, the shocks, and of course the paint. So I think those look freaking sweet. It's those little details that make all the difference. So let's get this guy turned on. There we go. So I gotta say, all in all, I am super happy with this build. I think it looks sick. I think it's gonna perform awesome. Take it for a little test tabletop crawl. Those brand new scramblers, just broken in a little. Boom, no problem. Nice little test run there. I think those limiting straps are doing what I wanted them to. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I'm super happy with this. So hopefully I'll get a proper test run video up soon. Give you a little more something to enjoy. But I think that's it for now. This completes another build, a deadbolt first for me. I may be doing more of these deadbolts after this guy. I'm really in love with it. So anyways, thanks for tuning in, and you know, stay tuned for something new soon. You know there will be.